This is Red from This Building Matters, and in this video I'm going to show you what's left of Detroit's Packard plant and talk a little bit about what we can expect from its future. I put out videos like this every Friday, so please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's check it out. The first building in the sprawling Packard plant complex on Detroit's east side opened in 1903. Designed by legendary architect Albert Kahn, most of the buildings in the complex utilized reinforced concrete, which is why so many were still standing until recently. Packard made luxury automobiles that were, by most standards, among the most elegant cars money could buy. That said, staying in business was a luxury that Packard couldn't afford after World War II, and the Detroit plant closed in 1956. Various smaller companies used the complex until 1999, when the city of Detroit stole it from a private owner, kicking the remaining tenants out and leading to its abandonment. With plan after plan proposed, each stagnating, scrappers and vandals ran off with everything of value from the plant for the first 2 decades of the new millennium. Eventually, the plant landed in the hands of a Peruvian developer who had grand plans to transform it into a mixed-use development. However, the plant only saw minor cleanups and paid tours. The city of Detroit sued the developer in 2021, and demolition slowly ramped up in 2022 and was completed by the end of 2024. Today, very few structures within the once mammoth Packard plant remain. The city of Detroit's current plan is to keep the 2 structures that flank Grand Boulevard and sell the entire plot of land to a developer, stipulating that those 2 buildings will be used in a new development. Building 13, or the Packard Administration Building, was built between 1909 and 1910 and is on the north side of Grand Boulevard. At one time, there was an ornate stone archway with Packard engraved above it at Building 13, though it was salvaged and taken to the Packard Proving Grounds in Shelby Township many years ago. Building 13 mostly housed offices, but it also had a garage and a repair station. Later, a kitchen and photo gallery were added. Building 27 stands on the opposite side of Grand Boulevard, though the bridge connecting the 2 collapsed in 2019. There was a courtyard between buildings 27 and 28, which is why a small portion of the structure juts out here. This was where Building 27 connected to the rest of the plant. This portion of the complex, built between 1909 and 1910 with a 1916 addition, housed offices, stock rooms, a machine shop, and receiving. Building 22 is still in use as a warehouse for Display Group, a company specializing in event production and high-end equipment rentals. This portion of the Packard was built on the former location of the Packard testing track. There was a baseball diamond in the center of the track, which was removed in 1939 for the construction of Building 22. By 1957, the highway was under construction just north of the building. Display Group renovated Building 22 in 2015 for $750,000 after it was sold by the Curlin Lighting Company. These structures have been remodeled, but I believe they were buildings 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, and half of building 45. The northern portion was a machine shop, and further south a metal shop. At some point, this whole area was used to assemble truck frames. This portion of the plant is best known as the residence of Alan Hill, who lived there for a decade and a half before facing eviction in 2019. He passed away a few years later. Building 82 has always been a bit of a mystery to me, but the Sanborn Fire Insurance map says that all of the floors were used for machinery storage. The structure was built in 1929, and it's in stellar shape, especially compared to all of the other structures apart from Building 22. It's a lot more historic looking on the railroad side than from the parking lot. The massive Packard's parts warehouse behind Building 82 is still standing and is used by a handful of companies. It isn't very interesting to look at, and is hard to get a proper view of without trespassing. There's a ton of graffiti back here. All that considered, seeing more portions of the Packard remain in use is satisfying. The only abandoned portions of the Packard plant that remain are buildings 13 and 27 and the shells of building 40 to 45. The city of Detroit is working to secure buildings 13 and 27, and the buildings where Allen used to live are privately owned. After the large-scale demolition that concluded in 2024, these structures look like the hundreds of smaller manufacturing facilities that once dotted Detroit's landscape, producing everything from car parts to toasters. In 2024, the city released a request for proposal for the Packard plant site and refused at least one submission that would have torn down buildings 13 and 27. Finding the right developer will be a challenge, but the historical and architectural significance of these 2 structures will make the wait worthwhile. After all, we've been looking at an abandoned Packard plant for 25 years already. What's a few more? If you enjoyed this, please throw a like on the video, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel for a new video every Friday. Until next time, this building matters. Old Dominion. Freight lines.